Hello, my friends. Let's move some negative energy out of that body so we can release a little stress. Hi, welcome to Wealthy Boss. My name's Mariah. If you're new to my channel, I especially want to give you a warm welcome. Every week I bring you new workout videos. Barre, yoga, Pilates, as well as some meditations. So if you haven't already, I would love if you hit that subscribe button so that we can continue to work out together week after week. Now today's 30-minute practice is all about releasing stressed out tension in the body. For me, sometimes I find I can't really arrive at a place of calm or centered meditation until I've actually physically moved energy through my body. So today will be a power yoga sequence. It's going to be a little bit challenging, and that's to ignite a sense of heat in the body and be able to cycle that energy through, feeling more calm and relaxed at the end. You need a yoga mat, and you may want to have a block and a blanket for the very end if you have them. Just a couple of things we're going to do with them, but if you don't have them, no worries at all. Now let's get started. We'll begin in standing today at the top of our mat. Feeling the feet firmly pressing into the earth beneath you as you spread the space between the toes. Feeling as though your feet can take up more room on the mat. Pressing down firmly as you begin to deepen your inhales and your exhales. Drawing palms open to the side as you form the physical shape of a mountain. Tadasana. Feeling the breath move slow and steadily through you. Beginning to take this solid shape. Returning to the idea that you are solid and whole. Unshakable. You are rooted into the earth. You are safe. And if you haven't already, perhaps taking the breath pattern in and out through the nose in our cooling Ujjayi breath, resembling the sound of an ocean wave as it hits the shore. In and out. From here, staying rooted firmly into the mat, feel the thighs drawing apart energetically. We're going to take our arms out to the side like cactus arms as we lift the heart towards the sky into a gentle back bend. Imagine you have a string pulling your heart higher. And then exhale, arms reach up, feeling the sides of your waist all the way up through the shoulders, lengthening as you depress the shoulders away from the ears. So we lengthen on the outer edge of the body and take it back into that back bend, gently opening into the heart. And returning to that standing posture, arms reach up, shoulders stay down. Let's do that one more time. Beautiful. From here, just begin to shake out the wrists. So anytime we shake the body, it's a really good way to release nervous energy. So we're just shaking from the wrists, shaking fingers. Don't be afraid to get pretty vigorous here. It's going to be a great way to release nervous energy. And then see about getting the arms involved. So maybe shaking your whole arms up, shaking them down. It's really finding a little sense of abandon here. Just like a animal might shake itself off. When we can release nervous energy in this way, it's a great way to reset. Nice. And then from here, we're going to swing back and forth, but allow, allow the arms to be loose. So again, just let them naturally go where they're gonna go. Loosening up the body, loosening up the spirit. Taking a couple more like this if it feels good. Perfect. And from here, we're going to take our first sun salutation of the day, but this is going to be a little bit different from a normal sun salutation. We'll add a few elements. So stay with me here. We're going to reach up on the inhale, feel those feet pressing down as you elongate the body. Exhale, finding our forward fold. Knees can bend if they need. We'll inhale, find that straight back position. So really lengthening the crown of the head towards me as you straighten that back. Exhale, we take hands down to the mat. We'll step back into our plank position, and then right away we take it back into a downward facing dog. We'll do that 2 more times. Rock it forward into plank. You got it. Press it back. Yes. And last time. Now we are going to hold that plank for 10 breaths. So trying to keep the hips and the ribs on the same playing field. Those hips like to dip down a little bit, or sometimes they even jet up a little bit to make it easier on the abdominals. But we want to build up a little fire, a little heat in the body so that we can cycle it through. Very good. Last 3 breaths, really pressing the earth away from you, lifting through the belly. And then we're going to squeeze the elbows in towards the ribs for our chaturanga. It's a little bit different than a push-up. We feel it in the backs of our arms as we slowly lower down. Ideally, hips don't touch until the chest does. Perfect. We're going to untuck those toes and then coming into a gentle upward facing dog. So we're actually going to keep our thighs on the ground for this first one of the day. But could you roll the fronts of your shoulders back behind the chest as though you're trying to lift your chest towards the sky again, just like we did from that standing posture. And then if it's comfortable on your neck, gently taking the chin towards the right ear, and then looking out towards the left. Seeing if you can unclench your jaw if you notice any tension here. We'll do that a couple more times. Last time each side. Perfect. Now we're going to lower that chest down. We firm up in the belly. See if you can press back up into your downward facing dog. We look towards the hands, and then you can walk the feet one at a time between the hands. Just like we did on the way down, we'll take that halfway transition. So straighten the arms, straighten the back. Melt it forward. You can bend your knees if you like. And then firm up in the backs of the legs so we feel the hamstrings and the glutes and the low back light up as we come up with a nice straight spine. Maybe press hips forward as we take palms to touch. Press those palms in, but relax the shoulders down, a little back bend. Exhale, hands to heart center. Let's do that same thing 2 more times. Inhale, sweep it up. Exhale, bowing down, letting the head grow heavy. Inhale, we'll take our flat back position, really straighten into the spine, drawing the shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, we melt down, straighten the legs as much as is comfortable, no more. And then we step it back into our plank, but we're going to take it right away into that down dog, really spreading the shoulder blades apart. Exhale, bring it back into that plank. Good, taking it into that down dog again. Find your plank, roll it forward. Last time, see if you can get those hips a little bit higher in that down dog. Remembering that we're going to now hold the plank for 10 breaths. So returning the body to a straight line. Seeing if you can puff up the space between the shoulder blades. So imagine your spine between the 2 shoulder blades, and in that portion between the shoulder blades, imagine it just drawing 1 inch higher towards the sky. That's going to engage a little bit more in both the upper back muscles as well as the abdominals. This is so good for you. Keep breathing. There's a temptation to hold your breath. But hey, if we're counting those 10 breaths and you're not breathing, we could be here a while. Perfect. Finishing up last 3 deep, slow, steady Ujjayi breath in and out through the nose. And then you're going to take that chaturanga on that final exhale. Remember, hips stay as high as the chest if possible. Perfect. Inhale, find your upward facing dog, but we'll keep those thighs on the ground as we take a little peek over the right shoulder or ear. Good. Keeping thighs on the mat as we take ear towards right shoulder, left ear towards left shoulder. Finding that a couple more times, really relaxing in the shoulders, softening the muscles in the face. Last time. And we'll press it back now into that downward facing dog. And we'll look between those feet. Step or float the feet through if you'd like as we take that flat back transition next. And go ahead and melt it down. Good. Firm up in the legs. Really press the legs down and apart as we come on up into that back bend. Palms pressed together, chest lifts, and then exhale, hands to heart. Last time through before we add on, we're going to inhale, take it up. Exhale, reach for the ground. One more chance to elongate that spine and stretching out the space between the vertebrae. Exhale, melt it down. We step back into that plank and then right away into down dog. Just flowing through this 2 more times. Pressing hips up and back, feeling a little bit more length in the hamstring. Last time. Perfect. Go ahead and lower down. Press it up into your upward facing dog. Side to side 1 more time. Good. Now this time we're going to press it back in a down dog, but we're not going to take the feet forward. We're going to add on. So finding your breath here, we roll forward into a plank. And I totally cheated you. I forgot to hold it for 10 breaths. So we're going to make up for it here. Finding that deep ujjayi breath. So your breath here is that dynamic anchor through these challenging poses. So this is what helps us maintain that steady presence, fueling our body and our spirits with that breath, preparing for the heat that we are about to invoke in the body. So this time I'd like you to take your knees down to the ground for the first time. If this goes well, then we can add on later. I'd like you to squeeze your elbows in towards the ribs again, but this time I want you to just hover halfway. So once your arms are at 90 degrees at the elbow, then I want you to press back up. Go ahead and tuck those toes. You got it. And then we're going to press back into a down dog. So that's our hovering chaturanga that we just did. Next time we'll see how it goes with the knees off the ground. And then from here, I'd like you to start to rock the weight forward, but take that right leg. You're going to cross it across the body. And then left arm comes up. We're in our fallen triangle, and we're really lifting the hips towards the sky. You can outstretch that arm if that feels nice to open up into the chest. Perfect. Keeping that right leg extended, we'll now reach the left arm down to the ground and then pull the strength of the belly in to lift that right leg back up. We're going to unthread it, lift it up to the sky now. So we're in a 3-legged dog. We'll stay here for a moment. I'd like you to take that right hip and angle it about 3 inches lower towards the ground. Chances are that it was rotated out to the sky, which is fine for our hips, but we'd like to actually get a little bit deeper into the calf muscle on the left leg here. So nice deep breath here. And then on your next exhale, slow motion, I want the strength of the belly to help assist the knee in coming under the chest. And then right foot steps under the chest. You're going to leave the left hand down on the ground, planted. Right arm lifts up into a nice rotation. You're in your high lunge. Back toes are still tucked. You're drawing the belly button in so that you can find a little bit deeper of a rotation here. Now, keeping the arms as they are, keeping the back toes tucked, could you take the knee down to the ground and then back up? You're going to lower again, take it back up. There we go, last time. Now we're going to take a variation of this, but we're going to increase the challenge just a bit. So this time we're going to take the hands together in the shape of a prayer, hook left elbow over that front right thigh, and use that to really lift the chest up towards the sky. So we're not sinking down into that thigh. Instead, we're pressing away from it. And just like before, we're going to lower and lift that left knee. So touches down to the ground if that feels good. If it doesn't feel good, you can just keep it high. Last time. Perfect. From here, we're going to unhook the hands. They're going to come down to either side of the foot. Get really firm in the legs and then press all the way up into our crescent lunge. So all 10 toes are forward. We're dropping the shoulders down away from the ears. And then watching your balance here, especially if you're on carpet like I am, you're going to shift all the way forward for warrior 3. So hands can stay on the hips if that helps. We're going to try to straighten as best we can into that standing leg. Hips are squared down to the earth. I prefer a flexed foot here. I find it helps me keep my balance here. If this is going well, see how it feels to extend those arms forward, continuing to keep the hips square. We draw the belly in. If this is going well, what would happen if you started to bend and straighten into the standing leg? So just building up some heat in the body. In yoga, this is referred to as our tapas. This helps cycle that energy and just release it through the body. Very good. Remember, hands can come back to the hips, maybe a couple more here. This is our power yoga sequence to really just cleanse ourselves through some sweat and deep breathing. You got it. Now, could you keep that back leg lifted? We're going to rotate now to the opposite direction than we rotated previously. So we're opening the chest out to the left. Maybe hand comes to block if we need for our half moon. And because I'm going to offer you a variation after this, you might want to have that block nearby, even if you can reach the ground, just so we can go a little bit deeper into that next variation. So with our half moon, we'd really like to keep that top left shoulder just as high on that vertical plane as the right shoulder. So rather than tilting it forward, you want it to be in kind of one stick straight line. We're flexing into that left leg. Is going to help us maintain our balance. So you're shooting energy out through that heel. The hips are totally open here. The belly button is facing towards the side of the room, not towards the ground. Perfect. And then if you wanted to take that extra little challenge, we're going to take a bind here, or kind of a half bind, by reaching towards that top foot, bending at the knee, only if that feels okay on your knee. If it doesn't, of course, skip it, please. Nice quad stretch here, releasing in the hip flexors, which can often become tight with stress. So giving those a chance to unwind. You got it. And then very gently releasing. If you have that bind, we'll return top arm up towards the ceiling for that half moon. Perfect. Reaching for the ground now as we tilt chest and hips back towards the ground. And then we're just going to press it back into our downward facing dog. From here, we're going to do our Chaturanga Hover again, so your knees can be down, or maybe we keep them up just for one time as we lower down only halfway if possible. Press it back up into that upward facing dog. And then we'll take a down dog again, but this time it's the left leg that lifts high. All right, do you remember what's next? Yep, we rock the weight forward, coming into a rotated high lunge. So it's right hand on the ground. We really firm up in the back leg. So really lift and straighten that back leg. We're pulling belly button in and up to get deeper into the twist, lifting that left hand up to the sky. And then if we took it on the other side and it was okay, we'll lower and lift that back knee. Toes stay tucked to protect that knee. There it is, really opening and undoing that body. Releasing tension and stiffness in the tissues to become pliable and open and in flow. And this time we pull the belly in a little tighter as we hook elbow over thigh, pressing palms together. Now if your palms are way up high by your shoulder, see if you can press into that leg a little bit more so that the palms come a little bit closer towards the chest. So a little bit more centered. And then again, if that's okay, we're going to lower and lift the back knee. Finding some dynamic movement here, staying fluid under pressure. There it is. And then from here, seeing if we can come forward with the torso, back leg stays strong, lift up into our crescent lunge, making sure that the knee is over the ankle, not coming too far forward over the toes. So we want to be set up properly. And then firm up even more in the belly as we rock the weight forward for our warrior three. Remember, hands can be at hips. This is going to shorten the lever just a touch and make it maybe slightly more available as we build up that core strength and that sense of balance. This is so good for building up stability in the foot. And then remember to drop that hip a little bit if it isn't already. Arms can come forward if you're ready for more. Of course, it's totally fine if you fall in and out of it. That is to be expected. And then if you wanted to add that element, remember, hands can come back to hips anytime you like. We're going to straighten and bend the standing knee. So it's a little added challenge here. We're really flexing in that back foot, though, so that we can keep the leg lifted. This is a ton of core strength also. Very good. A couple more here, please. And then remember, we keep that back leg lifted if we can, finding that half moon neck. So we're rotating now towards the right. Yes, flexing that back foot still. This time it's a stack of the hips, so belly button is facing the side of the room. If that ground seems pretty far away and as a result we're kind of tilting forward or to the side with that hip, we would rather have that block underneath us so we can really stretch that right arm up towards the sky and really lift that right hip on top of the left. I would like you to imagine that you had a wall behind you, so right behind your bottom, and you could actually feel both sides of your seat touching the wall. Chances are maybe that only the lower side of the seat would be touching right now. See if you can twist a little bit higher towards the sky so that the right side of the seat is touching that imaginary wall. That's really where the benefit of this pose is. Stretching out through the side body and hip, feels so good. And then if you did a little bind of the foot and the hand of the foot on the other leg, we'll take that here. Still maintaining as much of a straight standing leg as possible as we bend that top leg in. It feels so good to stretch into the quads and the hip flexors. Such a good emotional release to stretch the hip flexors. So good for us physically because so many of us shorten and contract our hip flexors by sitting for extended periods throughout the day. So good. And then can you just go ahead and release hold of that bind. This time we're just going to take the feet side by side and move forward into a ragdoll. So knees can be bent if they need to be. If they don't need to be, see how it feels to straighten the legs. We grab opposite elbows. Get as heavy as possible, please, with that head. So the weight of the elbows is serving to help traction the spine. So as it's drawing the kind of cervical area of the spine and head towards the earth, essentially we are creating more space between the vertebrae. So this is so good for our spine, helps lubricate the spinal column. It feels so good for releasing tension in the neck and shoulders as well. Maybe even seeing how it feels here to kind of gently shake the head yes and no. Great way to relieve tension. Just naturally breathing as the body feels comfortable. Very passive pose here. And then from here, reaching onto the ground, we're going to bend gently into the right knee, feeling a great little stretch in that IT band, outer edge of the hip, kind of as it wraps around into the QL muscles at the back. And then how about a little rotation here? So we're actually going to twist towards the straight leg, so kind of twist away from that bent knee. That feels so good. And then we'll bend into the other knee, twist to the other side. Maybe taking that a couple more times. You could choose to move through these kind of quickly. They're pedaling out the knees, or maybe you're really enjoying that twist and you want to hold that a little bit longer. Totally up to you. Just exploring that lower body as we start to bring the body down just a bit from some of that heat we built up. We always want to follow that up with a sense of calm and balance. Wonderful. From here, we're just going to straighten both legs and then step it back into your down dog. We're going to enjoy 5 deep, luxurious breaths here as we become more aware of the transition that's happened in our body. So noticing the openness, maybe in the hamstrings, the calves, maybe the back feels a little bit longer here. Those hips can reach higher towards the sky. Maybe the shoulders feel more open. Go ahead and count 3 deep breaths here for me. So good. And then we're going to go ahead and lower down onto all fours. And then go ahead and press yourself up once you're there so that you're kneeling on your knees. Now, if you need a blanket under your knees, that can feel nice to cushion them. If maybe you're on, say, a thinner mat on hardwood floor, that might be a good idea. And from here, you're going to take the right foot forward. And you can feel free to stay here. You could even kind of sink forward a little bit into the hips as long as the foot is far enough forward that the knee is over the ankle. Or if you want a little bit more love for the quads, as long as it's okay on the knee, again, a cushion is a good idea. Maybe you reach behind you and pick that foot up, pulling the heel in towards the seat for a really deep quad stretch. Again, opening into the hip flexors here feels so, so good. So good for body and spirit here. And then you're going to be very gentle with that knee as you release hold of the foot. And then maybe just come to all fours again to transition to the other side. There we go. We want to be careful in these transitions here. And then again, pulling heel in towards seat. If that feels like the right thing to do for any knee issues, it may not be. So you find what works for you. Feeling the body start to acclimate to the temperature of the room. The breath is just starting to kind of resume a little bit more of a normal breath pattern. Heart rate's coming back down. Good. We'll gently set that foot down. We're going to stay kneeling this time, coming into our camel pose. So I'm going to suggest, unless you're familiar with camel pose and you like to come into the full pose, I'm going to suggest a modification here, taking fingertips up and pressing them into the low back. If you have any back injuries, you may want to be gentle with this or skip it altogether. But we lift the heart up first. We want to make sure, rather than compress the low back, it's the opposite. We want to really lengthen, lifting the heart up before we take it back like a rainbow. And again, those fingertips pressing up can really assist. We're firming up in the glutes here, strengthening a little bit in the low back as we open up in the heart. This can be a really profound pose, both physically and emotionally, so we witness what's occurring. Couple more deep breaths here, noticing anything happening in the body or in the spirit. And then let's take it forward into our child's pose. If it feels good, you can even shimmy that blanket between the heels and the seat if that feels nice. This is our final resting pose today as we feel completely surrendered now. Having moved that nervous energy physically through the body, we feel a deep emotional release as we melt and surrender, releasing any sense of having to be on guard or vigilant. We now just melt and release, ready to receive. Willing and able to look at things differently, to rewrite the stories of what's happening around us. Noticing if there's any parts of the body that are still holding on and gripping. Give them permission to let go. And then feeling reinvigorated, start to press yourself back up into kneeling position. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me in today's practice. I'd love to know how you're feeling after this practice, so drop me a comment below. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit that button. If you liked this video, a thumbs up would mean the world to me. I appreciate you when you do that. It helps me share this video with more people. And if you could use a little bit more purpose and structure to your mindful movement, I invite you to check out my 7-day reset that will also incorporate some of these mindfulness techniques as well. Let's learn a little bit more about that now. If you're ready for more clarity, focus, and consistency in your workout routine, I invite you to check out the 7-day reset. 7-day reset is on-demand barre, yoga, Pilates, and Ballotone, carefully curated into a balanced schedule of just 30 minutes a day, plus daily doses of spiritual renewal through mindful moments. And knowing that we're accompanying all this with mindful activities to help you learn to love yourself from the inside out, knows that we're going to instill that positive, lasting change to overwrite your healthy habits. While lifetime access to the videos and special bonuses will help you stay on track. Learn more at wealthybossmembers.com/reset.